Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports with another football video, and today I'm going over my 2022 NFL standing and records predictions for the rest of the season. I do these videos on the channel every once in a while, but as I was going through my stuff from the last one, I realized it's been quite a long time since I did one of these. So let's get right into it. First off, we have the Houston Texans at 1-15-1. I don't expect Houston to win another game this season. They are by far and away the worst team in the league, and it's not close. Number 2, we have the Rams at 3-14. I don't expect them to win another game this year, especially with Baker Mayfield coming in. I don't think that Baker Mayfield is going to be able to give this team the spark that it needs. I think that they might be able to win one more game, but they have a slightly more difficult schedule than a lot of other teams in the league do, and although they might win one game, I think it's not great with how their offense has been playing. Next up, we have 4-13. We have the Denver Broncos and the Chicago Bears. I have the Bears winning one more game and the Broncos winning one more as well. Denver has been the worst offense in all of football and the best defense in all of football. And neither of those categories are close. The only game I had them winning is against the Rams. I think that the Broncos defense will completely shut down the Rams, and I think that the Broncos will be able to outscore the Rams in the worst tank bowl in the history of football. It's going to be an absolutely garbage game on Christmas, might I add. So that will be a thrilling one to have on Christmas Day. I think everyone will be tuning into Celtics Bucks instead. As for the Bears, I have them winning one more game. I think that Justin Fields has a lot of potential, but just not for this season. At 5-12, we have the Panthers and the Saints. Big games for the NFC South coming up. Tampa, with their win over the Saints this past Monday, is going to give them the advantage and most likely give them the division. But Atlanta might be able to make a run for it if the Saints and the Panthers can get if the Panthers can get an upset over Tampa. Either way, both of these teams are probably out of the playoffs at this point. I don't see either of them seriously fighting for the division. I have them each winning one more game to finish off the year. Moving on to 6-11, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Arizona Cardinals. Jaguars are currently 4-8. The Falcons are currently 5-8, and the Cardinals are currently 4-8 as well. All of them have 8 losses. I expect them to all lose 3 more games. I have the Falcons going 2-2 to finish off 1-3 to finish off the year. The other 2 are going 2-3. All of these teams have schedules on the more difficult side, but they are all able and capable of having pretty interesting upsets. I think that the Falcons' schedule is probably the hardest, which is why I only have them winning one more game, even though their team is probably able to win a couple more if they had a little bit more juice. But this team just needs a couple more pieces. All these teams just need a couple more pieces on defense and maybe 1 or 2 more weapons on offense, and they would all be close to being contenders. At 6-10-1, we have the Indianapolis Colts. I have the Colts winning 2 more games to close off the season, finishing off 2-2. Their schedule isn't the hardest in the world, and Matt Ryan's done okay in a lot of games. They do have potential for upsets, which I expect them to have at least one. I think that they will beat the Texans, and then they have to get one upset between the Vikings, Chargers, and Giants in order to get to the record of 6-10, which I think is more than likely. 7-10, we have the Steelers, the Packers, and the Browns. All of these teams started off good, and then they fell off, and now they're picking it back up again. The Steelers and Browns are both 5-7, and the Packers are 5-8. I have all of them winning 2 more games to finish off the season. Steelers and Browns going 2-3, Packers going 2-2. I do think that the Steelers have the potential to go 8-9, but their schedule is very difficult. And the Browns, I need to see more from Deshaun Watson before I bet on them going 8-9 or 9-8. I think a lot of people expect them to finish 8-9, but I need to see more from Deshaun Watson before I can put them in that 8-9 category. As for the Packers, we still don't know about Aaron Rodgers' injury. We still don't know whether or not he's going to be the starter once they're officially eliminated from the playoffs, which they will be probably in a week or 2. But they do have the Rams, which will be a free win, and then I think they'll get one of the rest of the games between Miami, the Vikings, and the Lions. I don't expect them to be swept by both the Lions and the Vikings, but I also don't think they'll win both of those games. At 8 and 9, we have the Lions, the Raiders, and the Patriots. I was struggling with the Patriots and the Raiders. The Raiders were teetering between 7 and 10 and 8 and 9, and the Patriots were teetering between 8 and 9 and 9 and 8. I almost gave the Patriots and the Raiders a tie and put the Raiders at 7, 10 and 1, and the Patriots at 8, 8 and 1. But I just said screw it, and I put them both at 8 and 9. So that basically assumes the Raiders are going to win the matchup between the Patriots and Raiders. I don't think that's going to happen. I genuinely think the Patriots will win that game, but I think that 8 and 9 is probably the most likely record for both of these teams. Not sure what organization they would end up in that. As for the Lions, I think that the Lions will probably end up winning 3 more games as well. They have some divisional games left, and they also have some games on the easier side. I think that they're peaking at the wrong time. If they peaked a little earlier and they were a little healthier throughout the rest of the year, then they would be able to potentially make the playoffs. But so for the rest of the season, they have the Vikings, they have the Jets, they have the Panthers, they have the Bears, and they have the Packers. They could potentially finish 9 and 8. 9 and 8 probably wouldn't be enough to make the playoffs in the NFC, but they could potentially finish 9 and 8 and make a run for it if the Seahawks or Washington completely die. But we'll see. At 9 and 8, we have Tampa and the Chargers. Chargers, again, I thought that 9 and 8. I don't think that they're better than any of the teams in the previous category, but their schedule is too easy for them to not go 9 and 8. As for Tampa, I think that Tom Brady is going to turn on the Jets at the end of the season and finish 9 and 8 instead of 8 and 9 or 7 and 10 or something. I think that he'll want to secure the division as quickly as possible, and I think that he'll clutch up in the games that he needs to, much like in the Saints game on Monday. I have Washington at 9, 7 and 1. I think that they'll finish 2 and 2 for the rest of the year. They have a lot of divisional games left, interesting schedule, and they've been playing well recently. Taylor Heineke has a good record this year, and I think that Washington has a bright future if they are able to make the playoffs. At 10 and 7, I have the Seahawks and the Jets. These were 2 teams I expected to be horrendously bad. They both turned it on, and then they both kind of lost a little bit of the momentum, but they're still hanging in there. They're both still in the playoff race right now. They're both still in the playoffs. I think that they will both make the playoffs at 10 and 7. Jets being the 7th seed, and Seattle also being the 7th seed, barely beating out Washington. It's going to be a tight race in both the AFC and the NFC. I think that both of these teams have the right schedule where they have just enough games left to win those 2 or 3 more that they need. I have the Giants at 10, 6 and 1. I think that them and Washington will both end up with the same number of losses to finish off the year, but the Giants just have an extra game left, so they'll get that extra win because Washington has a bye week this week. The Giants are in a similar situation to the Jets and the Seahawks, where I expected nothing from them. They turned on the Jets early, and then they kind of sputtered out a little bit, but they're finding their footing again. At 11 and 6 with the Titans, the Ravens, the Bengals, and the 49ers. All of these teams have had stretches of good and stretches of bad. I think that the Ravens have been the most consistently above average, but they've also not had any moments of greatness. I think that the Bengals and the 49ers are peaking at the right time. And I think that Tennessee really hasn't peaked at any point this season, but I think that they'll finish at 11 and 6 because of their schedule and the games that they've already won. At 12 and 5, we have the Bills and the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins will win the AFC East because of tiebreakers if they both finish in 12 and 5. But I do have them both finishing at 12 and 5. The Bills are currently a game ahead, but I think that the Dolphins' schedule is a little bit easier overall, and I think that Buffalo will find a way to lose a couple of the games that they have left, considering they haven't been as consistent this year as they were. Some points last year, some points, or as people expected them to be this year. And I think that they're going to probably finish off 3 and 2, which is pretty solid to end off the year, and both finish 12 and 5. At 13 and 4, we have the Cowboys and the Vikings. I think that both of these teams are elite teams in the NFC. I have the Vikings losing 2 more games and Dallas losing 1. I have Dallas losing to one of their divisional opponents, not sure which game yet. And at 14 and 3, we have the Chiefs and the Eagles. I have the Eagles losing 2 more games because they do have a lot of divisional strong matchups against their strong divisional opponents, and Kansas City has a pretty easy schedule to finish off the year. So Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Huge shout out to Quinn Lacey for supporting the channel with a channel membership.